Roxo Media House.
From the Flying T Studio at Roxo Media House, this is Frogs Today, featuring the newest member of the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame, Carven Holcombe, TCU soccer head coach Eric Bell with standouts Messiah Bright and Lauren Kellett, plus our headliner, former Star Telegram columnist Jim Reeves, and the hero of the Alamo Bowl, Bram Kohlhausen. Plus, we'll hear from our roundtable of experts. Here's your host, the voice of the TCU Horned Frogs, Brian Estridge.
Welcome into the Big Boy. Frogs Today, live today from the Flying T Club studios. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Estridge. We got a big show lined up for you here. I tell you, Eric Bell's going to stop by, the head women's soccer coach at TCU, coming off those back-to-back Big 12 championships. He's going to bring a couple of players with him as well as they kick off the 2022 season this week. It's been a fun week so far. We'll get to talk to Coach EB about that. A little bit later on, Bram Kohlhausen, the hero of the Alamo Bowl. He and Jim Reeves, you remember Revo, the terrific columnist for the Star Telegram, they've hooked up on this. It's Remember the Alamo Bowl. We'll get to relive those memories as the Frogs came racing back from that 31-0 deficit. We'll have our round table of experts. We'll talk a little football with those guys coming up a little bit later on. But first, you know, here at Frogs Today, we're all about the TCU family, and we want to help a member of our family to start the show. You may have heard the story of Murphy Brooks, incoming freshman baseball player from down in Cyprus, battling right now, and he is battling, folks. His body fighting back right now against something that at first was hard to identify. They've got a handle on things. It's starting to look better right now for him. But we caught up with Kirk Sarlos today to get an update on Murphy and his condition.
Had some pain in his left side of his neck and his left shoulder. Started feeling bad vomiting. His roommate, Justin Hackett, who's a baseball player, took him down to the ER. And that's when Keith and Shelly got in their car, his parents, and drove down here. So, yeah, it's been a pretty scary couple days. You know, an 18-year-old healthy athlete, really, all of a sudden is laying on a hospital bed, and it was touch and go for a little bit. They were really worried about having to put him on a ventilator, and the doctor just point blank said, "Hey, this is, you know, kids die from this."
If you'd like to follow Murphy's fight, you can do that online. You can do that via Instagram. They've set up an Instagram page for him, Murphy's Fight 2022. If you'll follow that on Instagram, it'll keep you up to date on his progress. As you heard there from Coach Sarlos, some good news this week, but still got a few innings left for Murphy. We look forward to getting him in purple, incoming freshman for the TCU baseball team. Keep fighting, Murphy. We got your back, brother. Hey, right now, how about this? Newest member of the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame is a guy named Carven Holcombe. He's the number 4 scorer all-time at TCU. Who's his first phone call leaving the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame ceremonies earlier in the week? That was to Frogs Today. And Carven, let me and all of us here at Frogs Today be some of the first to say congratulations on your induction into that Southwest Conference Hall of Fame.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You had a great career here at TCU. You started every game your last 2 years. We know about the numbers, but you've always been one guy, and I love this about you. You always talked about your teammates first. I'm assuming that probably happened a little bit today as well.
Without a doubt. For me getting into the Southwest Conference, being inducted, that was big time. But it just wasn't me. It was the guys I played with and the coaches I've had. So, I mean, all of that plays a part. And when I went in today to the Southwest Conference, I took everybody in. So I took all my teammates, all the staff, all of the athletic people and stuff that helped me out for the 4 years I was at TCU.
And you think about all the other names from all the other schools that are in that Hall of Fame. Carven, this is the elite of the elite, man, and you're in that group now.
Yeah, and I really didn't think about it until I arrived today, and I had a chance to walk around. It's only, I think for TCU by itself, it's only like 12 or 13 people.
Yep. Now,
Texas had probably 100, and then Texas Tech had 100, but just from TCU only, I'm one of 14 now. So, yeah, that's real special.
And I know you had a big crowd there. In fact, we saw some of the photos from the folks who had come down from Fort Worth and all parts to be there with you in Waco for this induction ceremony. That gives you some sense of the fact that you're still in the TCU family, man, and you always will be, won't you?
Yeah, well, and that's what TCU is all about. It's a small university, but yet it's a family atmosphere. And once you go there and people meet you and you meet people, it's family for life. I mean, so I'll keep these friends until the end. I mean, these guys have been loyal, and I even had John Brownlee show up who went to Texas. But me and John have kept a relationship for the last probably 12 or 13 years. So he's still a friend. That's somebody from another team in the conference who came to support me.
That tells you a little bit about the respect that folks have for you. I got to ask, 1,734 points, I think it was, in your career, fourth all-time on the scoring list right now at TCU. If you played in Jamie Dixon's system, what would that number be?
I'm going to tell you what, I would pass Darryl Browder this year. I think if it was my senior year, I would pass him up, because the first thing is that we didn't have three-pointers. And the last two people that have passed me up, both were three-point shooters.
Yep.
So, yeah, so if I played in Jamie Dixon's system right now, he would let me go. He would let me loose, and I think I'd be the number one scorer in TCU history.
We were talking off air. You're fired up about this team, as I am as well. I mean, this is going to be a top 10 team before it's all said and done this year.
I'm going to tell you what, for him to keep a majority and a nucleus of the kids he had last year, that was real important and stuff, because as me and you both know, chemistry is everything, and especially in the conference area. And I really think he's added a few pieces. I can't wait to see him play this year. I'm excited.
Carven, you are truly a class act, a great ambassador for TCU. I always love being around you. You don't have bad days, and I love that about you. Today was one of those special days, though, into the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame. Congratulations, my man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hey, thank you very much, and go Frogs.
There he is, Carven Holcombe, the latest addition to the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame. More to come on Frogs Today after this timeout. Frogs Today continues now with one of our favorites. Eric Bell, EB, is alongside. Good to see you, my man.
Nice to see you as well.
You ready to go?
Just about.
Okay, good, because it's here. I
Yeah,
mean, you know that, so you're in the middle of it.
Right.
Things are happening.
Yep.
I am curious because you guys have a 14-game unbeaten streak on that's been going. You didn't know that.
I
Did
did.
you?
I did.
You haven't lost in 14 games. No, I mean no pressure, no nothing.
Sure.
But no, seriously, how do you keep a team and a program hungry when they've experienced so much success of late? How do you do that?
Well, definitely don't bring that up. I think that you take it. This is coach speak, but you take it one game at a time, and that's I truly believe that. We don't talk about anybody else except the upcoming opponent, and that's how I've always done it since I've been here.
Do you? I mean, obviously the slate is wiped clean because you've started at 0-0,
Right.
To start the year, but the other day. But if you didn't do that, then folks would always be looking over the shoulder, talking about last year, things.
Right.
That you have to keep moving forward.
Right. And what's the past is the past.
Yeah.
And I still feel as though, and I've told the team this a number of times during the preseason, that we still have to prove ourselves. And there's a lot of people out there in the country that are doubting us and still don't believe in us, and we still have a lot to prove.
I wonder if you personally feel that way too.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel, we're not a blue blood.
Yeah.
And so we're still in the process of developing our program and developing our brand, if you will. And, there's a lot of people around the country and locally that still don't know a lot about TCU and TCU soccer. So it's our job to expose them to our brand of soccer and what we're trying to do.
But they're starting to pay attention. Obviously, the wins have come. The postseason success has led to that. People know about the crowd and the atmosphere at Garvey Rosenthal. So what does it take then for one day do you sit here and you say, okay, we're one of those teams?
Well, I think that we have to be playing in the first weekend of December to start off with, which is the Final Four, the College Cup, if you will. And we've got to do that a number of occasions, and we've probably got to win a national championship to get the type of respect that these other teams are getting. And so that's the next step for us.
How far is that program from doing that?
I felt as though we could have done it last year, and the things just didn't go our way in our final game, but I thought we were good enough. And so it's about maximizing our potential, putting the puzzle pieces together, and staying healthy.
Yeah.
Right. That's huge. And then, we're talented enough to do it. And it's just a game here, game there, and you're there.
Are there things that all the successes you've had the last couple of years, are there things that you as a coach still work on? Are there things that you tweak that you're always, even though you've won 14 in a row, are there still things that you say, you know what, I want to look at how we do this, or I might modify how we do that?
Yeah, I think this whole idea of player management is definitely coming into play a lot more for us. And, how we manage our players, and from practicing to not practicing to, how we talk to them and all these different things, and managing, egos and desires and goals and aspirations for all of them. A lot of them want to be pros. And so, helping them or guiding them into that area is a challenge, as well as, making sure that our team is put together in a way that reflects our morals and beliefs. Right? And culture is a big deal for us.
Yeah, and culture has been a big deal for you for the last several years, and that's really what has sort of bound this team and this community, the soccer community, together. When you think about all that success and the opportunities that it's brought, it's brought with it also some innate pressure, has it not?
I wouldn't say pressure, but I'd say expectations.
How about that? Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. And I think that, we welcome those expectations, and I think that's, why players are coming to play here, is because of the expectations of the program. And, now it's up to us to meet those expectations and or standards to get to where we ultimately want to be.
I saw an interview recently. I was trying to think of who it was. It was a highly successful coach who said, I never felt outward pressure. I blocked all that out. I was good at that. But I sure did feel inner pressure.
For sure.
Are you the same way?
I don't feel anything from the outward, from the community. I don't feel anything. I don't feel it at all. But inward, yes.
Right. Right.
Yes.
So the season went deep, fairly deep, not as deep as you wanted to last year. Recruiting has gotten to be, 365. It feels like. Was there an opportunity for you to get away at all this summer to kind of clear your head before the season? Did you do that? Is that important?
It is, but it isn't. I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
But April and I were able to take the girls away to Cancun for a week, and
Good.
hung out and did the beach and the pool thing.
Yeah.
It's really not my thing.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, you were drawing stuff up in the sand.
Yeah,
while you
kind
were
of.
there.
I was halfway here and halfway there.
I like it. There. Yeah, the schedule. I mean, when you talk about getting prepared for Big 12 play,
Right.
you might have gone a little far. I mean, you look at this non-conference schedule,
Right.
and it's a pretty hefty slate. You did it on purpose, though, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
We wanna measure ourselves against the best, but we also know that's definitely going to prepare us for conference play in the Big 12, and so we're really excited about it. I'm excited about the challenge of the teams that we're playing, and we got some good teams coming to Fort Worth to play us. So I'm hopeful that we'll have some good crowds, and they'll bring the heat, if you will, literally and literally and what's the other word?
Figuratively.
Figuratively.
Yeah, figuratively and literally,
Yeah,
yes.
both of those.
You top 10, top 7 here to start the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming, knowing you, that it's going to be a work in progress. Let's see how things roll out for a while.
Yeah.
Let's worry about that ranking in December.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice, especially from a recruiting standpoint.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you throw the ball out, and it's like, all right, who's better?
Yeah.
Right. So we measure ourselves against some of these teams and see where we're at. And again, it's good to be exposed, and right, so we can fix some issues going into conference play. But we obviously want to win those games as well, because that's going to hopefully set us up to have a nice seed in the NCAA tournament.
One last question. Depth is a concern that people have during roster management has been an issue. So depth has created some pockets in places. How do you feel about yours?
I feel good.
Okay, good.
I feel good. We got a nice young group that's definitely complemented the talent that we have returning, and they're doing very well in the preseason as far as practices and impacting the team in a positive way. So, hopefully when it's all said and done, when we get into conference play, or hopefully in the NCAA tournament, we're in a place where we're deep and can use our depth to our advantage.
Okay, we're going to take a break and then come back. I'm going to bring on Lauren Kellett and
Messiah Bright.
Also Messiah Bright as
Yeah.
well. I'm going to bring in 2 of them.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
And I want you to leave because we may talk about it. Is that okay?
That's okay.
All right. Messiah and Lauren, you're coming up when we continue. Evie, thank you. Always good to see you.
Appreciate you.
Good luck. That's Eric Bell. More to come as Frogs Today continues here.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Frogs Today continues right now. Messiah Bright is alongside, as is Lauren Kellett from the women's soccer team here, as we're early on in the start of the season. And ladies, I guess it probably didn't get here quick enough. I mean, what is it? One of those cases where you were just ready to start playing somebody again.
Oh yeah, I think the team, we were really excited to get out there and started off on Thursday. So
when we talked to Coach Bell, we joked about the 14-game unbeaten streak, and he says we don't even talk about that. Did you know that?
I did not.
Really?
Actually, yeah. Whenever you said it, I was like, oh, cool.
Well, yeah. Wow. It's just that's last year's news, huh? Is that what it was? Last year for you though, Messiah, has been we've had several last years. You've gotten to stick around for a while, and I love that though. And you chose to stay at TCU, chose to be here to give me some sense of how that happened, why you stayed. We're glad you did, and then what you hope to accomplish this year.
So I just think just going based off last year, we had unfinished business, and I knew that deep down in my heart. And it just gives me another opportunity to play alongside my sisters, So it's just had to come back. I think we have another drive that we have to push, and I believe that this is our year to do that.
Lauren, she's going to own the record book when it's all said.
Oh, I know.
mean, just own it.
I know. No
There's going to be
able
no
beat
other
it.
name in there. It's just going to say Messiah. That's going to be it. I love it. No, give me some sense as to what you're trying to build off of. I mean, you had the great year last year, the 10 shutouts and everything. Give me some sense as to what you're working on to improve on, Lauren.
Honestly, it's just to keep it going. I know that my shutout record's going to be hard to rebeat, but I would like to try my best to rebeat it and just keep building up.
Did you keep track of that as it was going on in your mind? Did you go, oh, there's number 8?
I think I kept track more on Twitter. They'd be like, okay, like Lauren's 3rd shutout. I'm like, oh, cool. And then the next one, I was like, oh, so this should be 4.
Right.
But like, it wasn't like in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is this number. It was like after the game, I'm like, oh, this was this number. That's cool.
I like it. And it's okay to do that because if she's pitching a shutout, you guys are okay with that, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that helps everybody, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. The importance, by the way, for both of you who are local products to be able to play in front of your family. You're from Dallas. How important was that for you in the decision process?
It was super important. My family's been to every club game
Yeah.
in the Dallas Metroplex, so just having them alongside me and just being there for every single game, home game, even though away games they try to travel to. So, yeah, it was very important to just have their support and just be front and center when I do play.
How about you, Lauren, from Coppell? I mean, I know they obviously get a chance to still see you.
Yes, they do. And both my parents just retired at like the spring, so they are completely open all fall, so they'll be everywhere. But that was a big thing, like staying close, because I know my dad especially would come to our practices if he could. He would be in those stands watching every single day. But yeah, so it was pretty important.
There are individual awards when you say, hey, we got 4 teammates who are preseason all Big 12. That's an individual award. But it's also kind of a team thing, too, isn't it? To go, hey, man, we're dominating the preseason Big 12 team. Isn't there some pride in that as a group?
Yeah, I think everything falls back on the team, just with anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am today without my teammates pushing me and wanting me to be better. So, yeah, that award is just well as deserved for them as it is for me.
How do you make the young players know that? How do you make them believe that, too, that, hey, you're as important as the All-American?
I think coming in July, we do a lot of team building activities. Like we want to try to be around each other as much as we can, like outside of soccer, not just when we show up for weights and we want to run in the morning. That's not always the funnest time to get to know someone.
Right.
But it's those like weekend activities where it's like, hey, let's do this as a team together to start meshing that like culture together.
All right, let's update folks on academics, where we are right now. Lauren, start with you. Where are we?
Going into my junior year.
And majoring in?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice. And after soccer's over with, what will you do?
So I'm still deciding on my 5th year here.
Yeah.
Maybe following in your footsteps. We'll see. I don't know yet. But if that's the case, then I will be doing a 2-year master program in criminal justice as well. And then after, I would like to go pro for a little bit.
Right.
And then after that, once soccer's finally done,
yeah.
My dad was an ATF agent, so I'd
Okay.
like to go in the federal government.
Okay, I like that. I love those shows, by the way. I watch all those shows that include that stuff. They intrigue me, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Messiah, you've been here for 12 years. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, update folks on where you are academically and everything.
I will be a 5th year this
Yeah.
year. I am majoring in strategic communications,
Right.
so I'll be graduating this fall. After college, I will be pursuing a professional career.
Yep, and that's gonna go for a while.
Yeah, I
And
hope
then
so.
after professional soccer's over with, what will you do?
I guess wherever my degree takes me.
Yeah?
It branches out into so many things. So I'm
Right.
thinking maybe like sports broadcasting or
You want to
Public
do
relations
this?
or-
You can do this. you want to do this?
think I'd be good at it.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, why don't you throw us to break? So all you got to say is, we're back after this on Frogs Today. All right, you ready? By the way, ladies, thanks for coming by today. Here we go. All right, look right in that middle camera, right here.
We're back after this on. Whoa.
Whoa. Wait, you can't. No, that's not part of the job. You can't. Whoa is not. You can't say whoa. You can't say whoa.
Okay, give me the picture.
All right, you ready to go? We're back after this on Frogs Today.
Okay, we're back after this on Frogs of Today.
Close. Not. We're close. I think you got a future as a soccer player.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
I should stay
More
there.
to come after this time out. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com. Frogs Today continues right now with our headliners. Man, are we honored to have these two guys with us. It is an honor and a pleasure to have Jim Reeves, Revo, the longtime columnist for the Star-Telegram, alongside. Good to see you, man.
Great to see you again, Brian. It's been too long.
It has been. You look great.
Thank
Looks like
you.
you've been on vacation or something.
Well, I have been, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Touring the British Isles, seeing Scotland and Ireland and England and even the beaches of Normandy. It was a tremendous trip. Just got back Saturday.
How about that,
Yeah.
man? Good for you. Yeah. And then joining us via Zoom right now is our man Bram Kohlhausen. Yeah, the hero of the Alamo Bowl back in the day. Bram, good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you too, Jim.
Good, Bram, always good to see you and talk to you.
You guys have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last
the
last couple of years. There's a brand new book that Revo has out called "Remember the Alamo Bowl." Give us some sense as to how this came about.
Well, that story was sitting there. The story of Bram, and it was such a great game, as we all know. Maybe the most exciting and biggest game in TCU history, a football game, and someone suggested, that kid who did that, nobody knew who he was. That might make an interesting story. And so I contacted Bram, and we made a connection. And what I soon realized, Brian, is that this wasn't just a comeback in a football game. This was a comeback as a person.
Yeah.
This was a comeback for Bram Kohlhausen in his career and as a person, because this is a redemption story is what it is.
Yeah,
and so it was fun to work with him and fun to write this.
The football is important, but the more we learned about Bram in that story was pretty fascinating. Bram, give us some sense of what it was like to sort of I'm not going to give away all of it, but folks know the fact that your dad had passed away just a couple of months prior to the bowl game. We know that you'd been at Houston, you'd been at L.A. Harbor, is that what, junior college, and then here at TC. We know that, but you went a little deeper with Revo. What was it like to bring back some of those memories?
Well, it was tough to dig some of those, gravestones up, and Jim made the effort to come and join our family in Houston for a day, and made everybody feel comfortable about who was writing the story. So I don't think you would have gotten the content that the book has in it if it wasn't for Jim, coming to Houston and showing his genuine thoughtfulness of writing a story about me. And it's all Jim's writing, and he portrayed the story the best way that I think anybody could have.
It was there have been stories that have been written about how stars align for someone. This was almost how all the stars misaligned, and Bram ends up being the starter in that game in the Alamo, because that's essentially what it was, wasn't it?
That's exactly right. I mean, Bram, what made this work was Bram was so candid and so out there with being able to tell his story, being willing to tell his story, and say some things about himself that he might have wished he didn't have to say.
Yeah.
But like I said, he was so candid, and his family was so outgoing and so forthcoming. His mother, Donna, his brothers, Dash and Gareth.
Right.
They were all just so honest about this, and it really made my job so much easier. We worked on this, Bram, 3 years, 4 years? I don't know. We worked on it for quite a while. There were starts and stops and pauses, but we just kept pushing through, and was so happy to be able to finally reach a point where we said, we have a book, and let's go with it.
By the way, 3 of the greatest names too: Gareth and Dash and Bram. I love that. They even your brothers talk to you, Bram, about how you changed, and they talk about that in the book, how you changed during your high school years. Yet you reverted back to the old Bram when it was all said and done. What was going on at that time period in high school?
Well, in high school, I was, given a lot of attention through the Chronicle, through everything. It got to my head. I didn't really listen to anybody. I was just doing my own thing. I wanted to, be this superstar that I thought I could be, and making decisions on my own. And I think that reaching out to your family for help is probably the best thing you can do at a young age, because there's a lot of people that love you, and they've been through things before that you might not necessarily have seen or heard or done. And they've got me back on the right track, and it's a credit to my family and just putting me in the right positions to succeed.
And that happened on that night in San Antonio where you did succeed. I loved how Revo, I loved how you described Gary Patterson in multiple settings, and how he handled, the pregame conversation with Bram that he
Right.
had before they got on the bus, the halftime gathering of the players, and then changing the shirt before he goes back out there. But to me, the intriguing story about the halftime was the conversation that Sonny Cumbie had with them. Talk about that and the fact that Sonny didn't raise his voice. He wasn't. They were down 31-0.
Right.
But he handled it in an intriguing way.
Yeah, there were coaches in that locker room that Bram can tell you. In fact, as he told me, there were trash cans being thrown and kicked around by especially some of the defensive coaches. People were not happy, obviously. But when Sonny Cumbie met with and Doug Meacham met with the quarterbacks in the room, I know Bram was sitting there expecting them to say, Bram, we're gonna go with someone else here.
Right.
We're gonna put Foster Sawyer in for the second half. And that was kind of what everybody in the stadium expected, because why not? At this point, the game's lost. It's 31-0. Why not let a young kid get some experience? But instead, they don't give up. Gary Patterson's teams would not give up.
Right.
And so Sonny talked to the quarterbacks, and Bram began to realize he's not telling me I'm not playing. He's talking to me like I'm going to be playing the second half, which I think stunned Bram and stunned everybody. But Sonny kept it cool. He said, these are the mistakes we made in the first half. Mostly we're shooting ourselves in the foot with bad penalties and so forth. You can't throw that interception that he threw near the end of the first half. But Bram began to realize, I am going to have a chance to redeem myself here. I'm going to have a chance. And he showed that to the other players. Right. He showed his confidence.
Bram, there's been a lot of talk about the plays in that second half that led to the comeback. I still remember you sprinting to the pylon on the one dive that got in. But I've always wanted to ask you that. What was the first offensive play of the second half like for you? What was that conversation like when you ran out on the field?
I think we opened up with a trick play there.
We did.
I think we threw it to the receiver, and he threw it to the running back. And that was just like one of those plays where, Meacham just wanted to get something going, get loose. And it was fun. I've never ran that play before. I don't think I even ran it in practice, and threw it over there. And the guy who was supposed to be out there wasn't even in. And little did we know, Tony James played high school quarterback, and just ironically threw a dime to Aaron Green, and we busted open for like 20 yards, and we were able to get moving and get a field goal out of that drive.
When did you know, Bram, that you had a chance in that second half? Was there a point where you even thought to yourself, hey, this might just happen?
I think we scored. We got a fumble, and we scored again. And trotting over to the sideline, I looked up to the scoreboard, and it was like, well, we have time, and we're scoring, and our defense is playing great. I think it was like 17-31 at that point. And, at that, we could score, we could win. And that's when I knew. I think it was like middle of the third quarter when I dove in for a touchdown. I looked up, and it was doable.
The thing that stood out for me in that game, Revo, was that I thought maybe TCU would have a chance was it was as if Oregon just flat out couldn't snap the ball for a while. Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
The center was struggling. They had gone to a backup center, and he couldn't. And I thought, well, if they can't get the exchange, there might be a chance.
Right. And that was when you say stars aligned, stars aligned in that game.
Yes.
Obviously, their starting center gets hurt in the first half, and then their fine quarterback gets hurt and knocked out of the game at the end of the first half. So suddenly it's not Bram against their starting quarterback anymore. It's Bram against their backup.
Yeah.
And everybody on the TCU team that I spoke to said, we knew we had the edge with Bram over their backup guy. And you're right, the quarterback exchange really hurt them. Their second team quarterback could not get anything going. But you talk about plays in that second half, and I want Bram to talk about this. As they were down near the goal line late in the second half, and the play was called for Bram to sweep right, I believe, and carry the ball in for the touchdown. Remind me, talk about that play. You know what I'm talking about, Bram, where you basically changed the play yourself, which scared the bejesus out of the coaches. And Bram
we
wound
had
up
Meacham
throwing
running down the sideline
opening
trying to get a
block.
timeout going.
Go ahead, Bram. Tell us about that one.
So the play was supposed to be a quarterback sweep to the right, designed for Boykin. I'm not that fast, so I wasn't that agile either. So I kind of just told the running back he should line up on my left side, and we'll shift over and just take the snap, and I'll go block for you. I think I could throw a block. And I just told the center too. I was like, "You're going to snap it to Aaron." And we were the only three that knew. Meacham was sprinting down the sideline trying to get a timeout, and luckily he didn't get the timeout in because we ended up scoring, and Aaron Green jumped for the pylon and was able to get in.
How crazy is that?
And I mean, Aaron Green from San Antonio, as he had told, he really was disappointed that he wasn't going to be able to get that touchdown. And Bram made it possible. That's one of the things I learned about Bram in doing this is how much he cared about his teammates at TCU and how much he tried. It wasn't just about him. But, Bram, I will say I disagree. You were fast enough and agile enough in that game, believe me.
Yeah, he was running fast, especially in that second half.
Exactly.
That is for sure.
Exactly.
Bram, your career started at Houston. We talked about that. Do you think if you would have started that career somewhere else, we would be talking about Bram Kohlhausen in a different light?
No way. There's no way. I would have been at the University of Virginia or the University of Utah, and I would have never have ended up at TCU. I met Doug Meacham at U of H, and when he went to TCU, he's the reason why I went to TCU. So I would not have been at TCU without Doug Meacham and his help.
But would you have been a 4-year starter somewhere? Because you could play. I mean, we all knew that you could play. Do you think that your career would have been different?
Shoot, you never know. I'd like to say I could have started anywhere or played anywhere, but that's just not where the route took me and where my journey went. And I'm glad it ended up through the purple and white at TCU. But I don't know. I couldn't have ended up in a better spot. Watching spectacular players like Boykin and Case Keenum, being behind them. I learned a lot about myself and turned into a much better man. Going through the journey I did go through.
I love it. All right, the book is Remember the Alamo Bowl. Revo, give us some sense as to where folks can pick this up at and all that.
It's going to be in the TCU bookstore.
Right.
We're going to be doing some book signings.
You got one coming up soon, don't you?
Got one coming up here at the shops at Clear Fork tonight, and then there will be some. We're going to arrange to do some through the TCU bookstore at the stadium, maybe before a game.
Well, that'd be great.
So we'll be doing that. Plus, it's on Amazon. It's going to be on. It's at Barnes and Noble.
Yep.
There's, just look for it at your favorite bookstore.
Yeah, it's a great read. And it was fun to relive the memories. But I tell you, it was also kind of moving to get to know Bram in a different light, too. And I appreciate you bringing that to light to us.
It was fun to do, and I appreciate, like I said, everything that Bram and his family brought to this book.
And Bram, if there is a signing at the stadium, that means you have to be there, and that means you have to come by the radio booth. You know that, right?
I believe homecoming might be the next one for me.
Good.
Kansas State game.
We'll mark that down.
I'll come by.
That sounds great. Look forward to it. Bram Kohlhausen joining us. Revo, always good to see you, my man.
Great to see you,
You look
Brian.
great. Let's get together soon.
Okay.
I'll buy lunch at the Railhead.
You got it.
All right, good deal.
I'm on.
This is Jim Reeves. That's Bram Kohlhausen. We got more to come on Frogs Today after this time.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
You got a full-time yoga instructor that's making sure that she takes care of taking care of the players. Oh, thank goodness we're alive. Don't do that. Don't, man. Every angle, the full-time yoke.
Come on, man.
No, we're good. We can cut that, right? I mean,
Okay, we better start again, can we? Are we live?
We're live.
Oh, shit.
you know, and to have a full-time yoga instructor to take care.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
I've got to be able to say it's important.
I've got
to be able to say.
I'll throw it in there.
No, I got it.
I'm going to throw it in.
They've even got a full-time yoga instructor. One of the things they focus on, though, it feels like, is flexibility. You know, and it, apparently that wards off injury as well. Yeah, that's what it's like here at Frogs Today when we take things out on the road. Fortunately, we're in the Flying T Club studios with our roundtable of experts. He's our yoga instructor, David Bowden. He's alongside. Melissa Treibwasser is here as well. Hey, sometimes you just got to have fun.
Absolutely.
You know, and so, if you can't laugh at yourself, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to laugh at when it comes to me. So.
All right, Melissa, I want to start with you. A couple of different things that are out there. All right, let's start right now with where things are as far as TCU football is concerned at camp. And I want to get into with you what happens at this stretch of the imagination. But give me some sense, Melissa, of what folks out there are saying, what folks are hearing, what they're sensing, what they're feeling from a fan's perspective for TCU.
You know, I think that there's still so much excitement and enthusiasm, especially with the new look offense. Anytime you go from a program that's been so defensive oriented for so long to an offensive head coach, you're going to have some enthusiasm just because it's so different and so new. And when you look at the skill talent that TCU has available, what we're hearing about what the wide receivers are doing, what the running backs are doing, how good the offensive line looks. It's really easy to forget that, Sonny Dykes hasn't coached a game for the Horned Frogs. The enthusiasm and the positivity is at an all-time high. We haven't felt like this except maybe going into the 2015 season would be the most recent time. So the news feels good. I think that you're trying to couch that with some realistic expectations at this point. But from a fan perspective, there's no reason to be anything but positive other than that little issue of not having decided on a starting quarterback yet.
Which will come in due time, we're being told. All right, 2.5 weeks in, what are these coaches thinking at this point? What are these players feeling right now?
Yeah, we talked a little bit this week about their bodies. Traditionally, this is when they start to break down.
Right.
And they've done an amazing job of covering every angle on taking care of these guys. But they're still a little bumped up. I mean, Coach Dykes acknowledged that this week. He's pulled back a little bit to try and bring their legs back, whether it's shortening periods during practice, going in the indoor some towards the end of practice, giving them a couple of, extra day off. So, all things to make sure that they're healthy by this time. And I think that's the big thing is making sure they get the right guys on the plane going to Boulder, because at the end of the day, that's really what matters.
Yeah, that was the good news that he said that, hey, of the guys that are kind of banged up, most of them, maybe all but one, will be back for the start of the season. Can't say that about everyone across the country, Melissa. When you look at some of the headlines in college football, injuries are top of mind for a lot of folks.
Yeah, and I think as Coach was saying earlier, this is a time of year when you normally expect to hear some of that devastating injury news coming out of camp. And knock on wood, TCU has been, I guess, knock on wood, right?
Yeah.
TCU has been super fortunate to this point, which is also great news for TCU fans because we're not used to this kind of injury luck, so to speak. But when you look at what's happened at Texas, who loses their best, most experienced offensive lineman, and then also loses a Wyoming transfer wide receiver who is expected to take some of the pressure off Xavier Worthy, you hate to see that, for the players so much. You hate to see it for a program that had such high hopes going into this season. But those types of season-ending injuries, those ACL, those knee injuries that happen in fall camp just seem to be the worst ones. Football is obviously a contact sport. There's an injury risk that comes along with it, but you hate to see guys lose a season before they even get a chance to step on the field.
Yeah, you think about it as a coach, you live on the edge. Not only you're on the edge worried about injuries, but now you got to throw in the mix the goofy transfer portal. And that's the other headline across the country where you're seeing guys transferring mid-camp. What is this?
Right. If we have not reached peak insanity yet, it's arrived. Now we're at the point where it was always the case when quarterbacks wouldn't get the job. All of a sudden the off season hits and they're looking around and doing those things. And then the portal hit where they give you the 1 year free pass, and that accelerated even to the summer, sometimes during the spring. But now we're in the middle of camp, and you're seeing it now throughout the country. It's becoming a trend. Hey, I don't get the job, I'm out. And so I think it's become impossible, honestly, for roster management. I asked Coach Dykes about it this week. I said, hey, how do you deal with that? Is it now a 12-month deal instead of projecting, hey, he's going to be a junior, I'm losing a senior here? He said, honestly, it's a 24-hour deal. I wake up in the morning and I coach who's here, and that's all we can do. And it goes back to controlling the controllables, but it's got to be frustrating, So they've got to put a limit on it. I think that's a bigger discussion, but they got to get to a point where they have a cutoff. And to me, it just can't be during camp.
If people still got the newspaper and you still had the transactions, that'd be the first thing that coaches would do every morning, right? Wake up, look at the transactions and see who left.
Absolutely. And I think they do, honestly. It may not be in print form,
right?
But they hit the portal in the morning and kind of see what's out there, because it's an everyday deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the good news for the Horned Frogs. Folks have stuck this thing out, sticking here. They like what they see. They like what they're experiencing with Sonny Dykes. I want to talk about one room real quick, though, with Melissa, and that is this wide receiving core. Quentin Johnston, obviously the leader of this group. But, I mean, this is a group that has all kinds of weapons. Give me some sense as to what you're watching on this, Melissa.
Well, I mean, obviously Quentin Johnston's a star, but, he's only going to be as good as the guys around him that can take the pressure off of him. And so we talked a lot about Jordan Hudson and what he's doing as a true freshman. The one, and I think Jamie Plunkett wrote about this week, is that Savion Williams. He's a guy that came in with so much promise and so much expectation, and just kind of spent a lot of time in the doghouse under the previous regime. But he's had a really strong camp. Spoke to the media this week. He's made some great plays. He's got that ideal size. He's got the speed. On paper, looked like a guy who should be an elite wide receiver opposite Q. And it looks like he might have a chance to live up to that promise. So him, along with Tay Barber, Darius Davis, you just have so many weapons. And again, I keep bringing up this thing called a tight end that hasn't been really used as a receiving threat the last couple of seasons, but there are a couple of them, and Dracarius Spivey and Jared Wiley, the transfer from Texas, who look like they're not just going to be guys that are on the field, but have a chance to be real threats in the passing game. And the more you can attack the middle of the field, the more you're going to open up that big play potential on the outside. Now, who's going to be getting them the ball? We'll see. But right now, it looks like there's going to be plenty of targets to make some big plays down the field for the Horned Frogs.
Here's a great thing about those tight ends, too, is they're super important on special teams, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've got one right now, transition to a long snapper.
Yeah, right.
But no, there's no question. You can use them everywhere. And now, in this league, in the Big 12, it goes back to what we talked about at the Big 12 Media Days with Coach Aranda, over at Baylor. And he talked about the shift of sort of the air raid, right, which you hear a lot. And Coach Dykes talks about he's not a member of the air raid club anymore, right, because he runs the ball too much.
Right.
But that's the Big 12. They're going to 11 personnel with a tight end or 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, and it's making defenses get some bigger personnel on that side of the ball.
Does that mean he doesn't get invited to the meetings? I mean, or can he still hang out with the guys? I mean, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a card-carrying member for long enough, I think, so they might probably let him in.
Yeah, I would think so. Melissa, great stuff as always. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to David Bowden as well here with our roundtable of experts for this edition of Frogs Today. Big thank you to Revo and Bram Kohlhausen. Man, how good was that to catch up with Bram. Good luck to soccer. Volleyball cranking up next week as well. We'll be talking about that on next week's edition. All right. Thanks for joining us this week here from the Flying T Club Studios. Until we see you then. Have yourself a great day.
Frogs Today is brought to you by the Flying T Club, supporting TCU student athletes, and by Richard's Rainwater. Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Frogs Today is a production of Roxo Media House.
Roxo Media House.